Hello and welcome back to Far Beyond the World. We will be continuing where we left off. And this is after going out with Verissa to the forest to pick some herbs and stuff. And then having various conversations with her about things related to her and some stuff related to Vol and some stuff related to Rannoch and Tano. But yeah, anyways, today will be a very interesting episode because we will be spending time with someone that I personally do not like. Well, I guess I like him now, but you'll see why. In general, I hate rabbits. So, yeah. Oddly enough, no whispers come to interrupt me, and I couldn't be gladder. I simply surrender to the memory of my wolf, who, thanks to his cloak, almost feels as if he was embracing me. For the first time, I truly sleep in, waking up all natural. I mean, it's not like Rannoch didn't let me laze a bit before, but I still woke up early on his account. Now without the wolf, there's no real reason to get up at dawn. Not to mention, there's not much else to do around here. I'm kinda done with reading books for the time being. The last two left me unsettled enough as it is. I take a long stretch and approach the window to see the weather outside. I rest against the sill and take in the view. It's a sunny day, as most of the ones before, but still quite chilly. No other way around it, better get started. I go into the kitchen to build a fire. With total of 3 attempts under my belt, I think I'm getting better at this. Once the warmth of the hearth radiates around the kitchen, I pull on the lever, hoping it'll cause the metal chain to descend from the chimney. It does, to my great relief. I mount the cauldron on top of the chain and fill it with water and leave it to boil. Those morning hoops to jump through are quite bothersome and make me appreciate so many things I must have taken for granted. Indoor plumbing being at the top of the list. I decide to take my time with washing myself, especially since I've gone through all of this trouble to get some warm water. I scrub every inch diligently, using the bar of soap Verissa gave to me. It foams between my hands, and I bring it up to my face to take a few sniffs. The smell of lavender is very new, but also a welcome addition to my bathroom routine. More so than scrubbing myself with ash, that's for sure. Once I'm done and dry, I look around for some quick breakfast. After the circus with heating my own bath, I don't feel like making any fry-up. I still have some leftovers from yesterday, so I'm not that worried. However, as I'm about to sit down, I hear a knock at the door. Before answering, I drape myself over with one of Rannoch's spare cloaks. Once nicely covered, I open the doors only to find a small linen parcel laying at my feet. I look out onto the porch and notice Vol's back in the distance as he casually walks off without even saying hello. Hell, he doesn't even look back. So we're playing this game then? Ugh. I pick up the package and close the door, flipping it carelessly onto the table. He's such an immature prick. He was the one to choke me. Again. I decide to be the bigger man and not take it personally. And he's the one to get offended? I'm so annoyed that I grab a tankard and walk towards the barrel. I fill it up and sit back at the table. I don't even want his damn food anymore. My frustration grows with each passing moment as I sulk and wet my lips with ale. He was the one to break the damn promise. I get it, he's extremely possessive. I see some of that behavior in Rannoch, but fuck. I sure hope my wolf doesn't end up acting like this. They're all savage beasts. Immediately I think of Dreher. No. I shake my head, picking up on the invasive thought. That was different. Dreher tackled his superior in his own house. Worse yet, it could have very much ended up with my death. Rannoch might have overreacted, but he was justified, and it wasn't nowhere near as insane as tackling me because of a slip-up of the tongue. Verissa's right, that wolf is crazy. He swore. Oathbreaker. Yes, he swore on his... No. No. I jump up to my feet. I'm not Dorothy for you to fuck with. My rattled breaths echo across the room. I try to stabilize myself, knowing full well that whatever the hell this thing is, it very much latches onto my emotions and cranks them up to 11. I look back at the table, reaching for the dandelion resting in the cup. I pick up the soft flower and bring it close to my nose, inhaling gently. My wolf is my compass. You cannot change that. He's go. No. I say calmly, banishing the thought before it even materializes. I know your games. You mistake me for a pawn, but I am very much intent on remaining a player. If I can keep my cool while deep inside of a wolf den, then your incorporeal ass can kiss mine. I sit back down, still very much toying with my keepsake. Vol is Vol. I saw his terror as he realized he broke his promise. Even if he doesn't care for me, I saw it in his eyes, the shame of someone who very much holds his word dear. An honorable wolf who wounded his own pride. He didn't intend it. It only happened because she means the world to him. I release a heavy sigh, venting out all that pent-up anger. He's just as lost as Rannoch is, if not more. Deep down, he resents the idea of being seen as a beast, and as a brute. They made him into this fucking tribe. It's like a machine that is designed to twist and bend everyone inside of it until all that comes out are damaged souls. If I'm to stay here, I'm going to make sure I don't become a cog inside of it. I won't perpetrate hurt and distrust. Everyone deserves a second chance. Especially the Black Wolf. I spend maybe an hour or two trying to unwind with the ale. I even check out the parcel that Vol brought, letting go of my petty grudge. There's some more cheese, sausages, and what looks like a nice quiche I'm pretty sure he made himself. It almost feels like a makeup gift. Or maybe I'm reading into things again. Either way, it's better to hold on to hope than resentment. I still struggle reading time in this place, but I'm sure it's somewhere past noon, gauging by how high the sun is in the sky. The fire already died out, and I use my free time to quickly clean the house again, trying to stave away any pervasive thoughts. Although now much easier a task thanks to my finally picking up on their foreign nature, they still unnerve me a little. It's like having another person inside of me. Bringing the cottage up to speed isn't as laborsome, as I did a fairly good job of it my first time around. I simply dust the surfaces and sweep the floors, careful to get into every nook and cranny. There's an odd satisfaction to keeping this place tidy. Once only the bedroom's left, I begin to wonder what I will do with the rest of my day. Oh, thank heavens. I put down the broom, certain it's Verissa coming to pay me a visit. I rush towards the chest to put on the dress, trying not to make the female wait. I'm coming, I'm coming. I mutter in my mind, straightening the silk across my thighs. As I open the door, I almost jump back in panic. Tryst just stands there, looking at me with a bemused expression, most likely taking my startled reaction as mockery. He nods towards the inside, clearly asking to be let in. I just shut the door into his stupid face. But the bunny persists. Ugh. I open again, this time begrudgingly, giving him a nasty look. One more time, the bunny nods towards the inside, asking to be let in. I glance around, seeing some wolves about, and reluctantly wave my hand in an inviting gesture. The moment the door is shut, I give him the meanest stink eye I can muster. What do you want? I came to fetch you, he states matter-of-factly. Fetch me? You must be kidding. Yes, as much as I think you are a massive joke, this here isn't. Oh, you little. Funny coming from someone called Kaelin. So you do speak their language. Clearly not as well as you do. He scoffs, walking towards the table and dragging his fingers across it. I mean, what sort of idiot wouldn't pick up a few words working here for several years? Then why pretend? Because wolves do not like being spoken to. He throws his inquisitive gaze into the floor, rubbing it with his hind paw. I see Rannoch's already put you to good use. Or perhaps I'm just not a lazy layabout. He grimaces, massaging his forehead as if he were in pain. Ugh. What's the matter? I ask automatically, my good nature overriding my dislike for the guy. Nothing's the matter, just... It's so confusing talking with you. It's like... Yeah, like I was born in your burrow. I scoff mockingly. I've heard that one already. He gives me a distrusting look and simply shakes his head. Either way, I'm not here to debate your linguistic skills. Good. If you want bonus points, you can stop scrutinizing my housework as well. As if I cared about my standing with an obvious spy. I laugh out loud, looking at him with pity. A spy? Who the hell would I spy for? You tell me. A smug smile stretches across his muzzle, and his insolence has finally exhausted my patience. I huff in annoyance, approaching the door. They creak open as I swung them ajar, showing the rabbit out. Leave. Now. Close the damn door, you fool. The bunny jumps in a panic, causing me to narrow my eyes. Someone can overhear us. I comply reluctantly, slowly closing the door. Why are you so freaked out? We're talking in Silovan. We're talking, period. Wolves don't like their wards plotting behind closed doors. We're hardly plotting. Try to explain that to them. I sigh uncomfortably, not really sure how much I can really trust this guy. Again, what do you want? I was ordered to fetch you. You are needed at the villa. At the villa? I blink. Yes. But I was supposed to stay here, out of sight. Well, the chief is throwing a luncheon for the elders. Surely his household is well staffed. What does he need me for? I don't know. It was Vitrir's idea. What? Why? I only understand bits and pieces of that horrid language. Something about making an impression. On the elders? I conclude, and the bunny scoffs mockingly. Yeah, I suppose. Sometimes I think that a single tree would have more guile than all of those damn wolves combined. Bringing you in there is just asking for trouble, especially decked out like this. He waves at my dress, and I look down at it. I mean, it is a dress, but other than that, nothing seems wrong with it. It's not revealing or anything, and I'd much rather be in it than walking around half naked. Besides, why should I even go anywhere with him? I'm Rannoch's attendant, not a servant. I shrug. Would you care to explain that to the chief, then? He proposes, showing me the door. Very funny. Thought so. He flashes his brows with satisfaction and approaches the exit. I don't like this. Of all the people in here, why would they send Tryst? I don't want to go, especially not with you. Trust me, I don't want you anywhere near me either. Especially when that poorly masked ploy of yours explodes in your muzzle. And it will, I assure you. I don't want to be caught in the blast by association. He pulls on the handle and creaks the door slightly open, inviting me to follow. What ploy? Whatever jargon you have going on, I want no part of it. But this is not a request. It's an order. Now, would you please move before they send guards after us? I sigh and concede. Fine. Although I am distrustful of the bunny, I doubt he would try anything stupid. He seems quite afraid of what the tribe is capable of, and I'm under their protection. I walk towards the door with a reluctant step. This is quite the opposite of laying low. But in all fairness, when did any of Rannoch's plans unfold in a way that he intended? It is a lovely day outside, and the air is much warmer than before. I sigh, glancing over to the table with a smile. Once this errand is over, and if the weather holds, I will have myself a nice drink here in the evening. Tryst pulls me out of my daydream by rushing past me towards the path. I'm about to follow when I notice the bunny stumble and almost fall into the dirt, cursing under his breath. Wolf dance step! I try not to laugh, but a chuckle escapes my lips. Someone will lose their teeth on it one day. Makes me wonder how often he actually left the place. You'd think that an uneven step would rather make a lasting impression. I jump over the faulty stone and stop next to the flustered bunny. I would have imagined that for a long-time attendant, you'd be used to it. Took me only a day to... Listen, it's better you shut up in public. It wouldn't improve your chances that they learn you speak Old Sullivan as well. I tisk snarkily. Aw, you worry. Of course I do. You're suspicious as it is. Last thing I need is your stink being traced back to any of us. Now, let's go. He waves his paw at me and we walk down the footpath leading towards the center of the village. There was a lot of movement this time around, mainly because it's midday. The wolves we pass give us unsettling looks, some very eager to bare their fangs in subdued growls. When we're out without Rannoch, we're walking targets. Best to keep our heads low. He mutters and I comply, locking my gaze in the path in front of me. I suddenly feel very much exposed, their penetrating gazes sending the wrong kind of shivers down my spine. My breath speeds up to match the tempo of my racing heart. This sort of hostility is something I'm not quite used to. Where did all the charm of the feasting go? Relax. That's what they're after, to startle you. The bunny sighs and I try to steel myself. Those brutes look for any excuse to send a prey kid into a panic. Don't give them the satisfaction. I frown, finding it hard to believe even though I'm experiencing it firsthand. Then again, Vol does get a weird kick out of unsettling me. Maybe it's Rannoch who's the odd one out. As we enter the center of the village, I glance over to the butchery. Unsurprisingly, it's up and running with Vol busy at work with his back turned towards us. I want to end our little spat and decide to approach. It's also a good idea to let him know I'm being led somewhere. What are you doing? Tryst whispers to me in a panic, but I ignore him with a shrug. I approach the counter and pat at it, drawing Vol's attention. Piglet. He looks rather surprised, but his expression is less sour than I expected. What? He cuts off, noticing Tryst dragging behind me. I forget that he doesn't know the bunny is in on our little secret. Just as the awkward silence falls upon us, I see Cora walk from around the corner. I give her a shy wave, sending Tryst into a deeper shock. Why, hello there, pet. Aren't you looking a picture? She smiles widely at me, while giving Tryst an adverse gaze. What are you two up to? I was wondering the same thing. Vol interjects. You, where take him? The wolf points at me, making an exaggerated hand swing into the distance. I watch as Tryst runs his paw along his head, almost as if feeling up an invisible wreath. He then joins them in front of his chest, mimicking a sloped roof. The chief's place? Why? The bunny shrugs. I really struggle not to laugh at this whole charade. He'll be fine. He's got Rannoch's crest on his collar. They'll treat him right. She winks at me, ruffling my hair. Anyway, I need 2 pounds of fresh ham and some sausage for the den. We're making a stew for the pups. I need something hearty. Vol gives me an approving look. You're in luck. Piglet and I made some fresh ones the other day. Oh, did you now? She looks at me with a kind smile. How industrious. Well then, I cannot wait to try them. She finally addresses Vol properly, and the black male has no choice but to return to conducting his business. Tryst seizes his opportunity to pull me away with a rather angered expression. I look back, worried about our hasty departure, but the wolves seem to pay us no mind. When we're a safe distance away, the bunny finally snaps at me. Your cluelessness is going to get us both killed. He scolds me, and I give him a confused look. Don't acknowledge any wolf unless they acknowledge you first. And never give your attention to a low-ranking wolves in the presence of an alpha. I narrow my brows. Their social norms are so much more different from what I'm used to, and I'm not aided by my personal rapport with Vol and the others. I guess I really need to up my game if I want to be inconspicuous. Sorry, it's all new to me. Seriously. He sneers. Vulgar is the last wolf you want to fuck with. Or one of the first, depending on your meaning. I chuckle, trying to ease him, but the bunny is clearly unsettled. It's not a joke. If you want to get killed, do so on your own time, but don't drag me down with you. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll try to keep their customs in mind. He sighs, looking at me with doubt. What about the elders? How do they rank in this society? Considering we're heading into the villa, you better give me a crash course. He nods in agreement as we walk around the stockades. I wouldn't want to end up in there due to some slip-up. The hierarchy is quite simple. The chief is at the top. You always acknowledge the chief. Then comes his advisor, in this case Fithrir. Yeah, that makes sense. After that, it's the elders, any and all of them. Only then you acknowledge the heir. Rannoch. I whisper and the bunny nods. After the heir, it's the alphas in no specific order. If any of them are present, no one else exists. It's a grave insult to acknowledge a lower-ranking wolf before finishing with their superior. I guess me interacting with Korra was another no-no then. So far, nearly everything is a grave insult with these wolves. You don't even know the half of it. He mutters, pulling my hand. Come on, pick up the pace. We walk a little further, my feet relieved to feel undergrowth again, as the small pebbles of the village pathways quite hurt my soles. I notice that we're not exactly walking on grass, but rather moss-covered road. It's incredibly ancient by the looks of it, and it cuts right into the thick of the woods. I stop in my tracks, absolutely amazed by the way the canopy arches above the trail, creating an illusion of a woodland tunnel, pierced every now and then by an occasional light shaft reaching to the ground from high above. Wow, this looks amazing. I gasp in astonishment, trying to take in this spectacular view. It's a bit overgrown. The rabbit shrugs, unenthusiastically. That's what's beautiful about it. Heh. Finally, a shred of emotion other than a scowl. He might think I didn't notice him giving me a curious glances, but I did. It seems he approves of my appreciation for nature. It's an old Sullivan road. It connects all major groves in Turnen. Groves? I inquire, trying to seize the opportunity to build a proper rapport with the guy, but I might have acted too hastily. Tryst only gives me a contemptuous look, deciding to ignore my question. Fine, don't tell me. I pout, placing my hand behind my head and giving myself an idle stretch. I assume they're important to the Sullivan folk. Ugh, is that your game, to gather information? He sneers, giving me an accusatory look. I'm only asking questions, trying to understand what's going on. What's going on is that I don't buy your little damsel in distress act. I'm not a damsel. I narrow my eyes and the bunny scoffs. Sorry, I must have gotten confused by your fancy dress. Could you at least not be this difficult? I ask, rolling my eyes in annoyance. It's entirely unnecessary. If we are both to survive among these wolves, we have to stick together. Together? Tryst blinks and stops in his tracks. Oh no, human. He hisses, pushing his finger into my chest deep enough to cause me to wince. I intend to stay as far away as possible from you, because you... I watch as he waves his finger in front of me, struggling to find the right words. You are just a delayed death sentence in the making. Why are you being so bitter? I haven't done anything to you. I ask, really not understanding his animosity now that we have a chance to talk. I don't find it being helpful to either of us. Haven't you now? Again, he sneers mockingly. Aside from taking my position, you are literally threatening to set this place ablaze. I didn't take it. Not intentionally, at least. And if it was up to me, you could have it back. My voice carries a cynical note, like, how could he pin this on me? To claim I have some sinister intentions towards the tribe? He's insane. I am not a threat. Not a threat? You must be joking. Tryst sneers and I just sigh in resignation, pushing right past him. I might not know where the villa is, but we're on this road for a reason, right? Suit yourself. Silence overtakes us as we continue our journey. We march for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, but they drag on mercilessly. The only entertainment I have is watching the bunny fume over our little exchange. He's definitely thinking of a comeback, and no sooner than I begin to smirk at his perpetual scowl, he breaks the silence. What would a human even be doing this far away from any of his kin? Like, honestly, what is your goal here? I'm just lost, Tryst. I've been saying this whole time. Yeah, as if anyone would buy it. Sooner or later, they'll figure out where you're up to. Who will? The elders, the chief. He shrugs. Why else would FBtW want you there? Without Rannoch covering your back, it's a prime opportunity to actually sniff you out. They'll make a quick work out of you, and things will be able to go back to normal. And this time, there is no Rannoch to save you. He says in a cold, heartless tone, and it doesn't seem like he's joking. I slow down my pace, starting to think again that this might be just a trap. What are you doing? He notices my tardiness as I finally come to a stop. You really are afraid, huh? Tryst smiles with satisfaction, not knowing when to stop. Got yourself in too deep? Why are you being such a dick? Being nice is nowhere in my job description. He mocks me and looks forward towards our destination. We need to get a move on. You're lagging behind. The bunny demands, but I don't care. Instead, I look behind, in the direction of the village. I was supposed to stay in the house. I think I'm gonna head back. Back? Are you insane? He shouts out, approaching me hastily. You do not ignore a summon from the chief, especially when the elders are involved. Rannoch told me to stay put, but you dragged me out and put me in direct danger. What? He looks at me with shock. This has nothing to do with me. He protests, darting his worried gaze between the road ahead of us and me. Look, I'm sorry I have upset you, but you cannot head back. If they have to look for us, we'll both get in serious trouble. His panicked expression almost turns into a pleading one. I guess he was just pushing my buttons, but I cannot help the fact that he did get into my head. Off to the chop. No, not now. I state sternly, trying to stabilize myself. This isn't a time to unleash my inner Dorothy. Yes, now. If you don't want to have some sense whipped into you by a very nasty wolf, just shut up and get a move on. He sneers, grabbing my hand harshly and pulling me into a forced march. His fluffy paws are warm, and for whatever reason, it catches my attention, a distraction perhaps from another approaching panic attack. Seriously, you're acting all over the place. Tryst grumbles, still holding my hand firm and enforcing a tempo. Yes, mentally, I'm not exactly here and now. Comes with the territory of waking up in the middle of a fucking nowhere with no memories. As if. He scoffs, and I have enough. I yank my hand free, stopping again in my tracks, giving him an angered look. The bunny is more than fed up with me, his expression making it clear, but then his attention shifts to my shoulders. You're shivering. They'll notice that. He states with concern, and I notice I'm wobbling like jello. I guess my resolve isn't as strong as I hoped. I can't help it. I mutter, rubbing my hands across my arms. You have to. They're all wolves there. I'm a damned rabbit and even I can sense your fear. You're the one who keeps freaking me out. For a spy, your nerves are made of straw. I'm not a spy! I shout out, my eyes getting glossed over. Fuck, I'm such a Dorothy. Or more like a cowardly lion. Dorothy seemed to keep her shit together slightly better than I do, all things considered. Okay. Tryst rushes to my side, shushing me. Just get your mind off of it. Try to relax. I can't. You have to. If I bring you in this state, it'll cause them all to sniff, and I'm sorry, but you seem to crack easier than brushwood. Just relax. His tone is now really desperate as he places his paw on my chest and tries to calm me down. How? Just ask me things. You seem to be an inquisitive sort. He struggles to come up with a distraction. You must have some questions. You hardly shut up for someone who wants to keep their speech a secret. He tries to make me laugh, and I involuntarily chuckle. I look at the paw that keeps a hold of me, and I notice the silly barcode pattern. What's up with the tattoo? This? Never you mind. I narrow my brows. So much for asking you things. I mutter, and the shivers rock me ever so slightly, causing the rabbit to reconsider. He squeezes my shoulder, and I steady myself and release a long sigh. It's a map of my burrow. It's to remind me where I'm from. That's all you get on the matter. He interrupts me sternly. We aren't butting up, so don't ask me personal things. Despite his tone, he keeps holding on to me. This little gesture allowed me to slow down the torrent in my head, and my emotions finally returned back under my control. Well, I was meaning to ask you something else. There was a book I read. Oh, a well-read human. Imagine that. He chuckles, tugging at my hand and trying to nudge me into a slow pace. Anyway, it talked about the Tiger Rebellion and mentioned how the Asylum folk were instrumental in defeating the lions, but I couldn't find any mention of the wolves. Why would you? Huh? I blink in confusion. Why would you find any specific mention of them? You mean the wolves came here after the rebellion? This time he's the one who stops and looks at me with a serious disbelief. What is this? Are you for real? I know you think I'm a spy, but can you just entertain my memory loss for a little bit? Especially when it doesn't threaten your safety? Or are you telling me that your life somehow hinges on my access to ancient history? Ugh, fine. He concedes with an amused scoff, and we continue to walk. I don't see what you could possibly gain from feigning such ignorance, so I suppose you were just badly educated. Yes, veiled insults aside, can you elaborate? Why weren't the wolves mentioned in the Tiger Rebellion, but the Sylvan folk were? Because wolves are Sylvan folk. Or, well, they used to be. What? I thought you're the Sylvan folk, you know, bunnies. I'm not a bunny! He looks at me sternly. Sylvan folk are all sorts of kin who follow the path of Sylvan. Wolfkin, deerkin, bearkin, all bound together for the common good. Then why are the wolves no longer part of that? Because wolves are exactly that. Wolves. Once we manage to chase off the lions and regain our freedom, wolves, who for centuries were the shield protecting the Sylvan, turned against us. I guess they just realized that they don't have to be equals anymore, but rather take that one step to elevate themselves above all others. I frown, not really sure which side of the story to trust anymore. I find it hard to believe it was that simple. I don't care what you believe. The facts speak for themselves. The lions got the boot, and the wolves took their place. I thought the tigers did. The Tigeri took the heart of Avalon for themselves. staking claim to the most lush and fertile land on the continent. They didn't give two shits about some woodlands in the peripherals of their territory. I ponder, trying to digest the information. In all fairness, I'm getting more and more conflicting reports. The book made the lions to be the villains, with the Tigeri and the Silovan folk praised as the true champions of justice and equality, while Rannoch sees all of this as bogus. Now Tryst says it's the wolves who are the bad guys. I mean, they do seem a bit unhinged at times and slightly on extreme sides of things, but this whole thing is so confusing. Rannoch seems to dislike the tigers. I mutter, gauging the rabbit's opinion. He believes the rebellion was a lie, that the tigers were the ones who replaced the Lion King. Tigers allowed other races to self-determine their future. That's more than can be said about the wolves. They simply determine that Turnin is theirs, and no one else's. I frown. He's clearly biased, and Tryst quickly notices my doubt. I mean, look at you. Didn't take long for Rannoch to place that collar on you. One way or another, wolves always mark their territory. For all the bluster about making change, Rannoch never really considered the foundations upon which his entire worldview is built. He wants to repaint the cracks in the wall, while the only just thing to do is to tear the whole damn thing down. He concludes his passionate speech, but I am unconvinced. Yes, Rannoch does seem to be confused and wrapped up in his delicate balance between change and traditions, but his heart seems to be in the good place most of the time. Is that why you were giving him the stink eye while in his service? Because he's not as radical a revolutionary as you'd liked him to be? He's a wolf. He might seem the nicest of the pack, but he's still one of them. I stop, looking at him with a rather disappointed expression. That's a bit racist. A wolf will always remain a wolf. They only look out for each other. He simply shrugs it off and continues walking on. I guess he's not going to deny it. I try to make up the distance, but as much as the conversation became uncomfortable, I cannot just drop it. He's got Rannoch all wrong. I was lost and injured. He saved my life. Rannoch doesn't care about you, or your life, rather just any other wolf for that matter. I don't know what sorcery you use to avoid getting killed on sight, but I know it ain't natural. Well, you're wrong. Am I? He pushes his finger into my chest again, stopping us in our track. How long have you been here? A week? 2? I lived with Rannoch for nearly a year. I'd say I am far better a judge of his character than you are. Did he mistreat you? I ask plainly, fed up with his weird beef against the wolf. What? Did he mistreat you? I reiterate, and he just stares at me blankly. Define mistreat. Seriously? I scoff. What's your point, human? If you're saying those wolves are bad, I just want to know what that means for me. From one attendant to another. Ugh. He storms off from me, clearly annoyed with my line of thinking. It only proves to me he doesn't have any actual dirt on Rannoch. I cannot believe my wolf would do anything to harm him. I simply follow behind the bunny, determined to have him vocalize what I already know. It's a simple question, Tryst. Did Rannoch mistreat you? No, he didn't mistreat me. Did he order you around? Demand anything of you? I continue, getting exasperated by his bluster, which comes from so far unfounded dislikes towards an entire race. No. So, he wasn't lying when he said you were just able to simply mooch off of him while doing fuck all in return? Mooch off? He stops again, rushing towards me and squaring off angrily. I can sense his paws close into a tight fist, and I half expect a sucker punch, but it never comes. Listen here, you glorified, fancy-looking fuck toy. I never asked to be here. He sneers angrily, and I'm about to retort to his insult when he spits his words at me like bullets in quick succession. My burrow suffered 2 harsh winters in a row. I saw my friends and siblings succumb to starvation, while we had to ship off what little food we had left to those damn wolves as tribute. You see them feasting and dancing every night, gorging themselves on ridiculous amounts of food. Our food? You find it charming. I saw you joining the fun as you were one of them. Well, know this. All that merriment happened on the back-breaking labor of my kin. I just stare at him, his tiny rattled chest raising and falling in quick succession. I didn't know. I blurred out remorsefully. For the right to live in our groves, the wolves demand tribute, and that tribute has to be paid, no matter the cost. Finally, when we had nothing to spare and the tribute ended, we had to surrender our firstborns. That's how I got this. He points to his collar, and I instinctively touch my very own. The last time I saw my mother was when she was huddled in the dirt. She was screaming my name when I was dragged away by those brutes to pay off a debt my burrow incurred for the insult of running out of food. So yes, I don't consider Rannoch's lax attitude a saving grace. I don't acknowledge any of those wolves for anything more than what they actually are, savage monsters who will murder us without batting an eye if we step out of line. So you better wake up and smell the roses. I can see his nose twitch as he takes an idle sniff. Or lavender in your case. You even smell like a whore. I'm stunned, standing there in complete shock and utter disbelief. If what he says is true, the wolves committed unforgivable extortion. It makes his behavior so much more justifiable. But even if it is true, if the wolves as a whole are like this, then they're all the same. No. Rannoch's different. I mutter, the panic quickly returning. Psh, naive and stubborn. The bunny shrugs. Do as you wish, but you're fooling yourself thinking any of them are your friend. I would feel pity for you had I not disliked you so much. I just stand there, helplessly confused. As he walks a fair distance from me, he finally stops, giving me an annoyed stare. You know what? Do whatever the fuck you like. I'm just going to tell them that you ran away. Should make for a fun evening for the packs. They always enjoy a good sport. No. I shake my head, finally shaking out of my stupor and approaching him. Oh, so you're coming then? Good. But don't you dare question my situation again, or I will get you killed, one way or another. I don't respond, not because I particularly believe his threat, but because I can see that the bunny is very much speaking out of anger. Not that I blame him, knowing the context of his wardship does explain a lot. But at the same time, it's clear he's not giving anyone a chance. Not to Rannoch, not even me. If anything, he simply perpetuates his loneliness and bitterness through choice. Our circumstances are very much the same in one single aspect. We both have no way out other than to follow the lead. What we can choose, though, is to make the best of a bad situation. Tryst just decided to make a bad situation worse. You know, you're the first person I actually get to talk to outside of that damn house. Despite you doing your darndest to spoil this for me, I am still going to enjoy it for what it's worth. Then enjoy it in silence. He sneers angrily and I simply shrug. I guess our relationship will continue to be shaky. I understand some of his points, but he cannot be writing off an entire people that easily. Vol being prime example. At first, I hated the black male with all my heart. He was fear incarnate. Especially after he choked me out. The first time. The second wasn't as terrifying, just disappointing. I reluctantly rub my throat, again reminded I'm wearing a collar like a pet. Although Tryst tried to ruin it for me, I still prefer to think of it as a memento. However, my personal attachments don't justify the shit those wolves are doing. Things are much darker around here than I originally thought. But Vol proved to me that you cannot judge a book by its cover, no matter how feral and barbaric it might seem at first. I'm sure that for any questionable aspect of their way of life, there was another awe-inspiring one. Just like the name trees. Experiencing that living cemetery in person left a lasting impression, as many other things will in time. We continue walking in silence, while Tryst's expression softens as time passes by. The villa seems to be quite some distance from the village. Roughly half an hour into our trek, I hear the bunny exhale heavily and give me a more toned look. Nearly there. I can see he cooled off, and I decide to seize the opportunity to bury the proverbial hatchet. Okay, we clearly got off on the wrong foot. No shit. We can fight and squabble all we like. For the moment, we're in this together. Since we're about to enter the wolf's den, I suggest we make a temporary truce. I don't trust your naive shtick one bit. You're either dumb or a spy. I still haven't decided which. Neither makes a convincing argument for any sort of dealing with the likes of you. He tries to sound nasty, but I shrug, not even acknowledging his jabs. As the silence protracts, he first dons a scowl on account of my lack of reaction, but then his expression softens until he sighs in defeat. I guess rational thinking takes this guy a while. Ugh, you're right. If you fuck up, chances of me getting out unscathed are low. Especially with the 3 alphas involved. You seem to be close with them. I don't suppose Rannoch would easily forgive if anything happened to his new perfumed toy while under my care. He says the last words with clear displeasure. I suppose for today, we can have a truce. This seems very disingenuous, and as much as I want to tell him to shove such a truce behind his tail, I really have no idea what I'm in for. Fuck. I curse under my breath. This won't be an easy alliance. Okay, but could you stop being such a dick all the time? Fine, as long as you stop talking out of your ass. My eyes widen in shock, and I want to start another argument when I realize I won't get us anywhere. I release an exasperated sigh and simply extend my hand towards him. Fine. He looks at me with slight surprise, as if he didn't know what I meant. Your people don't shake on deals. Shake? I just grab his paw and show him how it's done. He seems confused as to the meaning of the gesture, carefully inspecting his paw once it's free, as if to see if I haven't done anything to it. Huh. I'll try to follow your lead, but if I sense a trap... This entire setup is a trap. The bunny grumbles, shaking off his paw as if he wanted to get rid of my cooties. Elders were furious at Varys' little stunt. They boycotted the feasts ever since your presence was discovered. They want their displeasure widely known. So that's why I haven't seen any old wolves there. Sending you into the villa to the private meal is going to provoke a reaction. Although I am scared of the wolves, I'm hardly intimidated by some geriatric beastmen. What are they going to do? Berate me? We'll be fine, just don't fuck me over. Right back at you, human. Just as we finish our little exchange, I notice a small opening in the canopy, which allows more of the light to flood into the woodland tunnel. There are 2 columns on the left side flanking a pathway leading away from the Sullivan Road. Just as we take the turn, my eyes witness the most unexpected of sights. Holy crap! I gasp in astonishment as I finally get to see the villa. It completely throws me off, as I did not expect it to look this sophisticated. What's the matter? I'm not sure what I was expecting, but this is... something. Looks very Romanesque. Romanesque? You wouldn't understand. I chuckle, shaking my head. It's a remnant of the old kingdom, left to rot in the woods like a dozen other Leonin residences. This one doesn't look rotten. Rannoch's grandfather began restorative efforts. By the time your master was born, it was pretty much completely refurbished. I frown a little as he calls Rannoch my master, but I guess that's what he is in official capacity. Does this mean Rannoch grew up here? Of course. I'm surprised that the wolf chose to live in this cozy little cottage, while he could have just stayed here. His father even invited him back when I was hiding in the chest. This place could easily pass off as a palace. As we walk down the courtyard, I look at how well kept the hedges are. This must take a lot of work to keep this place well maintained. I should know. I'm the one doing it. Yes, sorry about that. It is what it is. The rabbit shrugs as we pass next to a small fountain planted in the middle of the yard. There are the kitchens and the stores. Tryst points to the right and then turns my attention towards the left side. That's where the wards live. Obviously, you're staying with Rannoch now, but should you need to find help, that's where they'll be. I nod, noticing a slight bitterness in his voice as he mentions my current accommodations. I want to apologize, but he suddenly stops as another bunny leaves through the large portcullis. Now, it's a good time for you to shut up. Hey stranger, what took you so long? A slender female calls out as she carries a basket of linen towards the kitchens. The human as dumb as a mule. What can you do? I dart my eyes to Tryst in slight annoyance. Haha, yeah, he looks kinda daffy, doesn't he? Yep. He laughs it off and waits for the female to go about her business. Was that necessary? I mutter through my clenched lips. Oh, poor kid. You need a thicker skin to serve here. I don't think I like that insinuation. Too bad, because those wolves don't care. Come on. He waves at me and we walk towards the doorway. As we pass beneath the portcullis, I notice the inscription. I can swear it's Latin. Virtue Fulgida Domus. Somehow I know what it means. In virtue, a house shines. I think it also means like in virtue, a clean house or something like that. How fitting for a place Rannoch grew up in. As we enter the villa, my eyes take a while to readjust to the sparse lighting inside of the enclosed corridor. I blink, trying to regain my vision, as I'm immediately taken aback. I'm amazed at how perfectly the building blends simple, functional architecture with a few elaborate details to create a refined aesthetic. And the atrium stands as a testament to that. I'm most fond of the sizable pool collecting the rainwater from the opening above. The recliners on each side seem quite comfy. This looks definitely Roman, and I'm starting to get more and more confused about the whole deal with this place. I watch water lilies dance merrily on the mirror-like surface and smile. If I hear la-di-da from him ever again, listen very carefully, I shall say this only once. When inside, you'll be very much on your own, so tread carefully, he utters in a worried whisper. You know the chief and Vithri already. They have their days, but the elders are a different matter entirely. They are not to be trifled with. Especially not Aldris. She's the mean fat one. Then there's her childhood friend, Dran. Be careful around them. I nod. They're both cunts. Worse yet, they're very observant cunts. You can ignore Ignell. She's a senile old wolf, spends most of the time either sleeping or daydreaming. Tryst takes a deep breath, as if trying to muster his courage. Since you understand their language, try to ignore verbal cues, only respond to gestures. I know, I've been discreet so far. He scoffs at me, giving me a patronizing look. If you call that embarrassing display at the feast discreet, then we're both fucked. Right. Here goes nothing. Tryst sighs and finally leads us into the next room. Well, that's where I'm gonna cut it off for now. So, I guess we're gonna be following Tryst's lead on this little unexpected adventure. And it's clear that the circumstances behind how the things play out in the village with the wards is a lot more, how to put it, mm, involuntary on the ward's part. Like, it was obvious because we already knew this that if the burrows or the other people cannot pay tribute to the wolves, then the wolves take one of their people to basically be a servant. But to see that it's a lot less like, oh no, we're not going to pay tribute this year. It's more of like, well, we can't, obviously, we can't pay tribute, so the wolves take it, knowing full well that whoever it is that they're taking from can't offer them anything. So that's bad. Uh, but uh, but yeah, he, I guess you could say he's justified in his anger of the wolves. And but yeah, I mean, we know Rannoch is a good wolf, and we know Varissa is also a good wolf, and Vol, despite the fact that he's a very aggressive one, is not a bad wolf. But well, I guess we'll see what happens in the next episode with the elders and the chief and Vitrir. Hopefully, nothing bad happens. But anyways, if you would like to play Far Beyond the World yourself, there will be a link down in the description. If you would like to support the creator, there will be a link down for their Patreon. If you would like to follow the creator, there will also be a link down for their Twitter. If you would like to support the musician or the artist that has been making music for the Echo Project games as well as Far Beyond the World, there will also be a link down for their Bandcamp as well as maybe their YouTube and maybe their Twitter. And they actually changed their Twitter handle and their Bandcamp handle and I think the YouTube handle. So they're going by their, I guess, professional name, which is Anthemikes, I think. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly, hopefully. And yeah, so I really recommend it because they really, the quality of the music is really good. And I've bought all of the soundtracks for what he has up so far. And hopefully they eventually put up some of the ones that they're going to do for Ad Astra in Terra and the ones that they have done for Far Beyond the World. So yeah, support your local furry musicians, artists, etc. And anyways, I guess thank you for watching / listening, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye bye.